Broadcasting live from the Capitol OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I am Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. As usual on a Sunday morning, we'll take a look at some of the stakes action from yesterday in review. Also coming up a little bit later on, we will be joined by Tony Calo, former Finger Lakes announcer, now down in Kentucky, announcing a Turfway in Ellis, part of the handicapping team for Churchill. And if you listened to opening night last night, you heard Tony up in the booth while Travis was handling duties with the Oaks and Derby post position draw that happened between races 3 and 4 last night. PPs are out. But Travis had some duties there. And so Tony called, I believe, races 2, 3, and 4 last night. So it was fun to hear him giving the call down at Churchill. But I thought he's now part of the handicapping team down there as well at Churchill. So I thought we'd check in with Tony, get some thoughts for the Derby and the Oaks. And then a little bit later on, we'll talk to Tony's replacement, Anthony Stabile, now in the booth at the Finger Lakes, and Finger Lakes opens tomorrow. So we'll get some ideas on the opening day card from Anthony Stabile a little bit later on. Should be a fun show. Do want to remind you that the Kentucky Derby bankroll entries are now open. You can take your shot to get on the team. Kevin Cox, the Brooklyn Cowboy, will have $2,500 to play on behalf of the bankroll team, the Kentucky Derby weekend, and hopefully juice it up nicely, and everybody will get a nice chunk of change at the end of the weekend. 50 folks will be randomly selected to be on the team from the entries. Go to capitalotv.com, click on the promotions link at the top of the page, look for this graphic, and then click on that. You'll find the entry form. I think we have until Wednesday to jump in and put your name in the hat for the Kentucky Derby bankroll team. And speaking of the Derby, the Kentucky Derby Seminar, the annual Capital OTB Kentucky Derby Seminar this Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Should be a lot of fun, always is. Hopefully we'll give out some good ideas. I will be there and be joined by Anthony Mormino and the aforementioned Kevin Cox, the Brooklyn Cowboy. We'll go through and try to give you some good ideas. Kentucky Derby, and that all happens right here on the network on Wednesday night. You can also check it out on the Capital OTB YouTube channel, some other spots as well. Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, Kentucky Derby Seminar. All right, I was out looking for the buyers for some of the stakes yesterday, and I couldn't find them. But last week I was on, and buyers for the stakes action last week came out an hour or so after I was off the air. But there were some notables. So I just I couldn't find yesterday's so far today. They'll probably come out a little bit later as well. But I saw a list later last Sunday of the Saturday stakes. And there was certainly the notable was last week's winner in the Oaklawn handicap, Skippy Longstockings, 107 buyer. Solid number there for Skippy Longstocking. Kings Barnes and the Ben Ali, a 95. Solid number. Raging Sea and the Double Dog Dare, also a 95. Copper Tex, who won the Tessio, and from that could get an entrance into the Preakness, but as we heard from Frank Vespi last week, the connections were not sure. With Copper Tex, 88, a decent number for the 3-year-old coming out of the Tessio. So there are some of your numbers from last weekend. Again, the notable one is Skippy Longstocking with the triple digit, the nice 107. Again, didn't see the buyers from yesterday yet, so we'll see, probably later today how they come, how they shake out. But we do have replays to take a look at. Yesterday's feature at Aqueduct, back on the grass in New York. You got to love that. And yesterday's feature was on the grass, the Woodhaven. I like Carson's Run. The betting public like Carson's Run at 4-5. It's West Point Thoroughbreds. Christophe Clement had such a nice 2-year-old campaign. Won the summer up in Woodbine. Grade 1 event, had run a close-up second in the With the Anticipation at Saratoga after a maiden breaker in the debut up at Saratoga. Disappointed a little bit subsequently in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, but in the 3-year-old debut off the very nice 2-year-old season, as I say, I was on board. Betting public was on board. But Carson's Run is the number 2 horse. And you can see back of the pack, winds up running fourth, but gets disqualified. As you can see, goes wide here and does wind up being disqualified out of even fourth place finish. So a little bit disappointing from Carson's Run in the seasonal debut, but it winds up to be Good Lord Lori over the Big Torpedo. The Big Torpedo, number 5, who's right there and just gets nipped. The chart margin winds up to be half a length. I had both of those horses in my mix, and I had the Big Torpedo in the second spot behind Carson's Run. And I said when I was in here yesterday handicapping, I thought the betting public really got that one wrong. Good Lord Lori took action off a debut effort at Saratoga last August. A nice little win for George Weaver. So this was a 3-year-old debut with the 1 start under the belt. But off of that Saratoga start, and I always say lightly raced horses like that, this can come back and prove. This was a nice seasonal debut with only the 1 start under the belt, come back as a 3-year-old and win a stakes race. And Good Lord Lori took some action at 5-2, paid an even $7. But the Big Torpedo went out for Tom Morley, nice little New York bred runner that had shown some ability and tossed in a good number in a second place finish in the prior start. Betting public let that one sneak away at 21-1. Horse was 6-1 on the morning line. So you wound up with an exacta in there, 5-2 over 21-1 of $42 and change for, again, a couple of horses that were logical once you got past the favorite, who unfortunately was a little bit disappointing in there. But again, it's that subdivision I like of the 3-year-olds on the turf. And I'm going to kind of draw a line through Carson's Run. I haven't seen any comments yet today on that one. But on the flip side, I think Good Lord Lori, obviously 2 starts, 2 wins, stakes win off a big layoff. George Weaver has a nice one, you would have to think. And the Big Torpedo, again, being a New York bred. Tom Morley, I think, has a nice one as well, who seemed to improve. I haven't seen the numbers, but they seem to improve nicely, stepping out into open company for the first time. But when you have a nice New York bred and you can do that, you can, hey, let's take our shot at open company, or, there's some big money here in the New York bred. So the Big Torpedo will be interesting watching going forward as well, again, in that 3-year-old turf subdivision. All right. Also yesterday, there were a couple of fun stakes at Oaklawn. And first of those was the Bachelor. Again, 3-year-olds, but this time it was on the dirt, and 3-year-old sprinters going 6 furlongs. I used Valentine Candy. Valentine Candy, kind of an interesting scenario. It's a Steve Asmussen sprinter, 3-year-old sprinter even, and he's been kind of potent on the sprint side of things with some of his runners over the past few years. But Valentine Candy had a 3-for-3 record at Oaklawn this year. December, a couple of wins, February win. They were all stakes races. And then they took a pop at over $200,000 up for grabs, sprinting on the synthetic up the Turfway in the Animal Kingdom. We had 4th there, so a little bit disappointing, on the synthetic at Turfway. But coming back to the dirt at Oaklawn with the 3-for-3 record, I thought Valentine Candy was going to be the one to beat. Obviously, the betting public agreed. Goes off as the 7-5 choice. Has to work for it a little bit here, though. Frost Free, who I didn't use in my mix, 7-1. Frost Free, the number 2 horse, made a race of it here. And it seemed like number 6, Valentine Candy, was kind of spinning his wheels. And then right about here, you get, getting a little momentum. Maybe the front runner's getting a little short. It pushes on by. The chart margin winds up to be a length and a half. Valentine Candy, 4-for-4, all stakes races at Oaklawn. So a nice little 3-year-old sprinter for Steve Asmussen. Cats by 5. The other Asmussen runner wound up running 3rd in there at 19-1. I had that horse right underneath in second. So another one I thought, I think probably kind of, another one, the morning line had juiced up. The 6-1 on the morning line went off at 19-1. So the Asmussen runners first and third, and in between, again, a gutsy performance from Frost Free in there. But Valentine Candy, $4.80. And as I say, runs that record to 4 for 4 at Oaklawn. And again, all stakes races, which is intriguing as well. All right. Also on the agenda yesterday at Oaklawn, the Dig a Diamond. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's like a state park. There's some place where you can actually go and find diamonds. And I think, I don't know whether they're just laying on the ground. It's something where you're not coming with like a miner's helmet and a pick, and you really have to work. Maybe might have to dig a little bit with a trowel or what. But I've read occasionally somebody finds something really. I think most of the things people find are a little splinter that isn't, maybe makes you excited, but isn't worth much. But occasionally people have found something down there. I think that's the genesis of the name, the Dig a Diamond. A couple $100,000 up for grabs for the Phillies and Mayors. And this one was kind of interesting because now, as a 4-year-old, we're going to watch number 3, Who's Your Philly, get it done. The horse that certainly had flashed talent early in the career, but on the buyer numbers, people weren't quite convinced. And subsequently, she kind of played that out. The 3-year-old season wasn't quite as potent as you might have hoped for. Then she came back in her 4-year-old debut at the end of March in the Matron and ran 5th. So it just seemed like she was up against it a little bit. All of that said, the public made her the 6-5 favorite. So she gets it done. Who's Your Philly for Tommy Amos back in the winner's circle. Absinthe for Steve Asmussen runs second. And again, another price in there. Absinthe I had in my mix. And was 15-1 on the morning line, but went off at 17-1. Only the 4th career start for that one. Maybe watch that horse. This was only the 2nd start of her 3-year-old season, so she maybe wanted to again take a little bit of a look at going forward. All right, and wanted to take a look at one more before we take our break. This one from last night at Churchill Downs, Roxalana. 6 furlongs, the trip, a couple $100,000 for the ladies. And the winner here is going to be Zeitlost for the aforementioned Steve Asmussen. Joe Rosario on board. Zeitlost is going to be the number 5 horse. Running second is Dazzling Blue, the 6. Dazzling Blue wound up to be the 5-2 choice for Brad Cox. But Zeitlost would had a nice little career. She had been 8 times in the exact and 11 starts before this. But Zeitlost gets it done by turn margin and neck, as you can see on the outside there, just pushing by Dazzling Blue. Happy I Am runs third. So again, it was the first 2 choices running first and second, but it kind of flip-flopped order there in last night's feature on the opening day card at Churchill. All right, we'll take a break. And as mentioned a little bit earlier, we will be joined when we come back by our friend Tony Calo, now down at Churchill Downs, part of the handicapping team. So I thought we'd reach out to Tony, get some thoughts on the Derby and the Oaks. All of that right after this. A little bit later, Anthony Stabile be hopping in the booth for the first time up at Finger Lakes tomorrow with opening day. So we'll catch up with Anthony as well in a few. Stay tuned. All of that right after. Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer: wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com.
Come on.
Well, sales report Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast in television, plus live video streaming and race replays on PC and mobile devices. Visit RTN.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Birdstone is enough shot. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
Here comes Hot Chaparral. Hot Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Papa. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart nearly running them. It's going to be a 3-horse battle for the to the top. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, happy to be joined by our friend Tony Calo. When we last spoke to him, it was the last weekend of Turfway, and there was a little buzz that some news was on the horizon. And sure enough, a couple days later, the big news came out. Tony moving out of the booth at Finger Lakes, but moving into the booth at Ellis and permanently at Turfway after a Turfway season where he did a great job and part of the handicapping team down in Churchill. And as I said at the top of the show, called a few races last night during the Derby draw. I'm guessing Travis had duties with the draw. So Tony races, I think it was 2, 3, and 4. Hey Tony, good morning.
Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Very good. It was fun to hear you in the booth last night.
That was pretty cool. Unbelievable. I'm still pinching myself. 30 years plus pursuing this dream. Pretty awesome. Mike Ziegler is the general manager here at Churchill. I started at Bay Meadows in 1994. And he started in 1995. And right before, about 3 minutes to post, I didn't even expect it. All of a sudden, he comes up to the booth and gives me a great hug. And he thought, we got to take a selfie for Jack Liebau, who was our boss at Bay Meadows, now one of the big guys at Los Alamitos. And I almost started crying, and he was like, I could tell he got choked up, and it was awesome. And he walked out of the booth, and as he's walking out, I'm like, Zig, we all call him Zig. I go, Zig, thank you so much. And he's all, thank yourself. He's all, you've earned this. You put in your time, and I'm still super emotional over the whole situation.
Yeah, I texted you when the news came out. We were talking at Turfway again before we went on the air when we had you on the last time. It was in the air, so I said to you, I'm really happy for you. We're going to miss you.
I should have you the extra read all about it first call on it, but I just had to.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. You said you knew something was coming out. You got to wait for the official announcement to come, and I texted you and said I was very happy for you, and I am. We're going to miss you visits to the Finger Lakes, but.
Think about that. Normally, I'm prepping for 4.5 furlong races tomorrow, and now here I am. I'm prepping for the Derby. I got a cool little story if we have time. I'll make it real quick. So I've had this repeated dream since 1995 when I called the San Mateo County Fair. And it basically it involves waking up in just in complete terror because I've been completely obstructed from the track, whether it was like with the mat and the bus or just a boatload of RVs. And I'm like, you wake up every day and you're like, oh God, thankfully that wasn't the case, And I've had that dream probably 5-10 times since 1995. And wouldn't you know it, that it came into fruition last night. The mile race in Churchill, they start behind a brick wall. You can't see them, Seth. And Travis had told me, he's all, Tony, this TV's delayed. You got to call it off the big board, the huge TV in the infield. Well, wouldn't you know, they're playing a commercial as they're springing the gate. And then by the time they came to it, they came with the most awkward, aerial angle. And I'm just staring at the brick wall. When will they emerge? They gotta be here sooner or later. And all of a sudden, I got a little tongue-tied for half a second, and I'm like, that's the dream. That is the dream I've been having since 1995, and it finally caught up with me. She reared her ugly head on me tonight.
That's good. I'm going to ask you when you're getting up in the booth, because just as a fan, with the the infield structures they put up and whatnot, and coming out of that mileage too, Oh, that's great. Yeah, because as they say, as a fan, it's kind of tough sometimes. So as an announcer, I was curious. That's great. All right.
And it's classic. I've been complaining about the booth at Turfway being too low because it's basically on the second level. Well, wouldn't you know it? I guess when you complain enough, they will respond. And all of a sudden, last night's booth was on the seventh level, and I've never seen something like that in my life. So I'm going to shut up and just be happy from now on.
That's right. Count your blessings and move on. I just sent it to Dan in the control room. I don't know whether he's going to have time to pull it up, the email, and put it up. I should have sent it last night. But there was a picture Vic sent out the other day, and I'm not sure what you guys are doing, but it was fun to see you part of the team. It looks like a little dinner and radio hour there. You're with the whole team from Churchill. Darren Rogers is there, the two KKs, Christine and Kilroy. Travis is there, Joe K. You're part of the team, and Caitlin Free is in there as well. It's fun to see a part of the handicapping team. And as they say, it looked like you guys were doing a little radio show the other night.
Yeah, that happened at one of the local venues around here. I think one of Darren Rogers' favorite hangouts. I think it's called Double Dogs here in Louisville. And, that was a lot of fun. Pretty cool stuff.
And you've been part of the morning show. So, again, you'll be announcing Turfway and Ellis, and you were part of the morning works that have been leading up to Derby. Will you be pregame and plugged in that capacity, too, as the spring season goes along?
I have one more morning works assignment, which is tomorrow. Travis Stone, who's just a tremendous individual. He's nothing but pure class. He just welcomed me up to the booth yesterday, and what a great guy. I've had a good time of meeting Travis for a couple of times, but Travis hosting tomorrow. I'm on the air with him, and I believe that will be my last morning work show. I think we conclude them on Thursday on Derby. So,
but then
but yeah, I'll be part of the racing analyst team moving forward. I get on center stage last night who happened to win while I was calling, and she paid $45. And then when I get on air, I think I had one horse run and jump. The other four just ran up the track. So you're only as good as your last selection, and my last selection was pretty horrific.
Yeah, Jack out here, one of our guys out in the race book is always telling me that. You're only as good as your last pick. You're only as good as your last pick. And it's like,
yeah.
Sometimes that's great, sometimes not so much. As a handicapper,
it's funny because Joe Christopher gave out a pretty live first timer in the nightcap. So he wanted to walk us all through the turf club saying goodbye to a bunch of people while my horse ran up the track. And I'm like, Joe, I see how you roll, brother.
And again, looking at that group, I have had everybody on the show really multiple times in the photo, except for Caitlin. I'm going to have to plug her in because she does a nice job as well. And our man, there's the picture. Thanks, Dan, for getting that up the other night. And our man Travis, you talk, he's a nice guy, and a local guy. It's right from Spoon Lake, right up the road, essentially. From us.
Yeah, Travis is super, super cool. He's a really sharp guy. And, I'm just, like I say, I tell them every day, I'm honored and humbled to just be included with this group.
Yeah, we're happy for you that you're there. But let's shift our attention now to less than a week away in the draw yesterday, so the PPs are out, and maybe get some of your thoughts on the Derby and the Oaks. I talked Derby the past couple of weeks. I had David Aragon on yesterday and got some thoughts on the Derby. And I have said I'm kind of getting more and more, and looking at the workout from Friday. It's understandable, and we have the workout from Friday of Fierceness. Fierceness has the yellow towel working company with Agate Road. I'm just kind of getting to the point where I think he may be the best of this bunch, and looking for something else is folly. Now, I have a couple others I'll play around with, but your thoughts on Fierceness as the favorite?
I think we're all starting to come to that conclusion. I made a comment to somebody the other night. I go, what happens if Fierceness pays $8.30? And we all look back like 10 years from now going, why didn't we just bet 200 or 2,000 to win on him? I also read something that he is coming in with the biggest speed figure advantage over his rivals in 2 decades. Yeah. That is quite a number. I mean, his 148-1 in the Florida Derby is incredible. He runs a 1-0. I'm not a big buyer guy. I've never really used the buyers as my main tool of handicapping, but his buyer numbers, obviously what I just referred to as the speed figure, he has such a decisive advantage. It was pretty interesting. I was watching that draw yesterday, and I'm like, wow, there's one inside post left, post position 3. I believe everything else was like 12 or 13 out that was available. And you could see you could see Mike Rapoli, how he was so relieved when number 3 went and he draws 17. Now he does draw the number that the post position that has never won. I just saw something this morning on Twitter that is the law. The only reason why he lost was because of the curse of post position 17. So, Bears have to overcome that. And, as great as Todd Fletcher is, and he is as great as any trainer we've ever seen in our lifetimes, but he is 2 for 64 in the Kentucky Derby. So we're going to be taking a short price on a horse that has a post position that has never succeeded in the Derby and whose trainers' statistics are absolutely, well below anything we're accustomed to seeing him.
And I think both of those factors are worth considering. The post position, I'm a little more skeptical of, because now that with the 20 horse gate, that is kind of, it has been a shorter period of time than history going back. And that kind of changes things on the outside, certainly changes things on those inside 1 or 2 post positions. And so I'm a little more skeptical there, but it's certainly worth considering. And as I say, I'm going to play around a little bit with a couple of horses. Resilience coming out of the Wood Memorial to me is the one that I'm looking at as a potential price to jump on. I don't know what to do with Sierra Leone. I will totally admit I'm not sure. I coming out of the Bluegrass, I was kind of high on him, and now I've become a little more skeptical. Catching Freedom is interesting, certainly, as well. But once you get past Fierceness, what are you looking at?
Well, you mentioned 2 of the 3 that I was looking at. Obviously, the logical ones. I don't know what to make of Resilience. I thought he ran a pretty good Risen Star, and I think the Risen Star has really been the best prep race that we have seen so far for these 3-year-olds. So he ran very well in that race, no question about it. He was somewhat forward, and he hadn't run in about 6 weeks. It was a sealed, sloppy racetrack, and he ran very well. He is second by half a length turning into the lane. He's still second at the 8th pole, and he just got a little tired in the late stages. Came back with a good win in the Wood Memorial. I'm probably not giving him as much respect as I should. It's hard, Seth. We have 20 horses, and they all have great credentials. They have solid resumes. They've earned a ton of money. It's really hard to figure out where you go, trying to get that wide guy long shot horse. Obviously, Sierra Leone, he's such an imposing figure. He comes with that big sweeping move. I liked what I saw from him yesterday. They pinned him on the inside of his workmate, Domestic Product, and he seemed to hold him at bay throughout, which, normally for a swooping closer, you would seem to want to put him on the outside, but obviously both of those horses have very similar running styles, so they opted to put Sierra Leone on the inside, but he held Domestic Product at bay. I've heard some people saying that the inside post of post position 2 is going to cause some issues for him. I don't really get that because he's such a late runner.
Yeah.
But I suppose, if he doesn't settle all the way towards the tail, but he's going to be in the backward flight, and with that inside post, he should be able to save ground. And I can't see it really causing that much trouble. So, you would have to think he's going to come with that big sweeping move and probably sustain it to the wire. He has to be considered. Catching Freedom has looked sensational in his workouts. The workout on the 13th of April was the one that really all of a sudden made me wake up and like this horse quite a bit. I thought that 48 work was brilliant. His gallop out was great. His gallops in the morning have been awesome. Talk about a little bulldog. He's not the biggest horse I've seen, but he really carries himself like a big guy. Maybe he's got that Mike Tyson kind of look to him or something. But 8-1, he's offering some value. My 2 long shots that I'm kind of really intrigued with is obviously, there's a buzz going around about Honor Marie.
Yeah.
He has been working tremendous. I kind of was jumping on this horse even before the work started on the 7th of April. I kind of started watching that Louisiana Derby race. He had been inactive since concluding his 2-year-old campaign with that win in the Kentucky Jockey Club at the Grade 2 here at Churchill in late November. Gave him some nice time off, but it wasn't like he got kicked out to the farm and he just got to do his thing. They kind of kept him somewhat in training, had a pretty steady Eddie work tab all winter, came back with a decent fifth in the Risen Star that was over a sealed sloppy racetrack. He's run 2 races on a sealed sloppy track, and neither of them are even comparable to any of his fast track races. So I thought that race was a little better than it looked. I thought his Louisiana Derby was solid. He was in front of Catching Freedom, turning into the lane before Catching Freedom was able to come and get him. Catching Freedom benefited from running a prep race already at Oaklawn. I believe that was the Smarty Jones, why Honor Marie was making his first start as a 3-year-old. And I thought he made up some significant ground on him in the Louisiana Derby. His works have been tremendous. His work the other day in company, asked for some speed, 59-1. Finding this horse to be very intriguing. But like every year, when you get that buzz, wise guy horse, especially because with me, I've never had a lot of success chasing them. Every time I hopped on, I seem to be going down with them. But he's 20-1 on the morning line. I see his price being significantly lesser than that. Here's the long shot. We're going to get to it, fans. This is the long shot, and I'm not being a homer because I called him all winter, but I have been impressed with what I've seen from him. His name is Encino. He just won the Lexington. Not sure who the last horse to win the Lexington was to go on and win the Kentucky Derby. It might have been Charismatic. You can't quote me on that, but that's what my brain's trying to tell me. But this horse, he worked with Catching Freedom yesterday, and he's a lot bigger. Well, a lot of horses are going to be bigger than Catching Freedom. Tremendous neck on this guy. I didn't realize the size of this individual when I was at Turfway. He overcame an extremely wide post in the Battaglia, which was the prep for the Jeff Ruby, and he decided not to go in that affair. He decided to wait for he entered in the Bluegrass, but they didn't like his post, and so they opted then to run him in the Lexington. He's been working good. He could be in the second flight, in my opinion. I don't see them gunning him for the lead, but he's catching my eye, and I'm willing to give him a little bit of a long shot look. And then if we're going to add one more into the mix, it's Just a Touch. Just a Touch might be one of the more, I think when it could be said and done, that's what everyone's starting to talk about, at least the group I've been hanging out with. A lot of people seem to think that Just a Touch, when it is all said and done, he could end up being the horse later this summer. But it might be a little quick to ask of him to win the Kentucky Derby, only being his 4th race, and this is only his second 2-turn race. There's a horse who debuted in late January. Obviously, we saw Justify succeed with that. We've seen Mage last year. It can be done, but he's a little light on racing. He's a little light on route foundation. But from what I hear, he's the one that they're really high on in the Brad Cox Farm.
Yeah, it seems like just kind of ear to the ground. You mentioned 3 that are getting a little bit of buzz. Obviously, the work this week from Honor Marie. And you mentioned the workout from Encino. Looking on Twitter, Mike Welch, the workout guy for the Daily Racing Forum, was kind of giving a serious thumbs up to that work by Encino. I wasn't quite sure what to do with Encino, but after the work, maybe I'll toss him into my mix. It's very intriguing. As I said earlier, I'm tending to feel like Fierceness may just be the best of the bunch, but he still has to define whether or not he is truly a horse that has to have everything go his own way. I'm not sure what the number of races that people kind of feel that way, but I'm not sure that's true. In the 20-horse field in the Derby, I think he'll have to prove it a little bit. But once you get past him, it starts to become very intriguing, a lot of fun. All right, let's I
think he really benefited the most from the post. I had said going into the post position, if he draws outside, I mean, watch out there. He probably can work out a very, very clean trip for himself.
Yeah, David Aragona yesterday said essentially the same thing. Post position may make a difference for him. If he can get outside some of the other horses with early speed, he's strategically maybe in a better position. All right, just before we let you go, thoughts on the Friday feature of the Kentucky Oaks Grade 1 event, $1.5 million up for grabs. And I a few weeks ago, I had Kenny McPeak on the show, closing weekend at Fairgrounds, because he had a bunch of horses at the Fairgrounds and he had some horses up at Turfway that weekend too. So we talked about those horses, wrapped it up, went to the commercial. Ken was still on the phone. I said, "Hey, thanks, Ken." He said, "Oh, you didn't mention my horse going in the fantasy next week at Oaklawn." And I said, "Well, I'll alert people." Well, Torpeda Anna winds up with a big win in the fantasy. She comes in looking very good to me, but Tarifa out of the win in the Fairground Oaks, also dangerous. Ways and Means, I'm not sure. I don't think Chad was thrilled with the blazing work a couple days ago, less than 2 weeks out from the race, but she is certainly very talented. Just FYI, obviously, the 2-year-old champion. Any thoughts in the Oaks?
You pretty much nailed it right there. Those are the players. The other player that I think would be Leslie's Rose. Her recent workout was awesome. She had one about 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago. I think it was on Thursday. I was on the show and we were watching her work, and it was incredible. It might have been Wednesday, and we showed it again on Thursday. But nonetheless, the final time wasn't anything special, but the visual part of it was just incredible. Her gallop out was awesome, and she's coming into this race really, really nicely. She could be somewhat forwardly positioned in a race that doesn't look like it has a heck of a lot of pace on paper. But you mentioned all the players. I think Tarifa's the one that we're really not sure what to do with. She only has one defeat. She has some quirks about her. Like, she worked the other day, stablemate Jinjin, and she was about or two behind her, and she gets a little rank early, throwing her head about. I think the talent is there. I'm just not sure about what's going on upstairs with her. And the other thing that has me concerned about Tarifa is that I work with 2 colleagues that spent the whole winter in Fairgrounds, and neither one of them are really bragging about her. So that was a little cause for concern. Torpedo Anna, Kenny McPeak has said that you better bring a bear to the Oaks because I've got the Grizzly. So you better bring something really good. She's an impressive specimen. She has good size. That's the one thing that's pretty cool so far for what I've seen from the Oaks is there are some tremendous young fillies in this race. Just FYI, she is a monster. And I guess these Justifies. A lot of them are big individuals, and I didn't like her post draw, but she's doing everything perfectly. She's definitely my number one pick, just FYI. And like I just mentioned underneath, Torpedo Anna, Leslie's Rose, Ways and Means I have high up on the list. And after that, boy, it's pretty contentious. But those would probably be my top 4.
Yeah, I think it's a stronger top end, more consistent, let me put it that way, top end with the fillies as compared to the boys. And just FYI, I mean, she had that belated start. She was supposed to start down in Florida and didn't make that. And so I thought the second in the Ashland was a race to kind of build off of, and she's interesting to me as well. I think it's a fun, certainly edition of Kentucky Oaks, and it's always a fun edition of the Derby. So Friday and Saturday, those two will highlight things, but there's a great undercard of stakes as well. And opening week. I'm also looking forward to opening week Bango to see if the Great Foley trainee can become the all-time winningest horse at Churchill Downs. He's in one of the stakes races earlier in the week. So it's going to be a fun week all week long. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, and I'm looking forward to it being over also because I've been just running rampant for like the last 2 or 3 weeks. Last night I got home and I got to wind down just a bit. Today I get to have somewhat of a relaxing day, other than trying to get this condo situated. But it's going to be great. Great week ahead of racing. We're racing Tuesday all the way through the Derby, so tune on in. And you know what, Seth? Let's not forget about opening day tomorrow at Finger Lakes.
Yeah.
We got to promote it. We got. It all happens at the thumb. I might not be part of it, but I'll be tuning in. I know Anthony Stabile is so happy. I'm happy for him. I put in a strong endorsement for him to get the job, and I'm glad they kind of listened to me. And for anybody out in Farmington, New York area near the racetrack. I think the Big A is going to be at Eddie O'Brien's, which is across the racetrack. I'm not sure of the times, but I think we're giving a big warm welcome to him. And so I'm happy for that, and thought I'd throw in a big shout out to everybody out of Finger Lake.
He's up next on the show. I have a
Beautiful.
Big A spot coming up next. We certainly also wanted to promote
It's
opening
not
day.
often on the little A, that's for sure. So that's cool. But
And yeah, you alluded to it. We were talking before you went on the air. I hadn't even thought about that, but you had to make the move and clear out the house up in upstate New York and move everything down to Louisville, so I can see where it would be a hectic couple of weeks. And just by its nature, Derby week is always hectic. So we wish you and everybody down there a great time over the next week. Obviously, we will all be focused on the action down at Churchill, and it's a lot of fun. And then this summer, we're looking forward to you calling at the Pea Patch as well. And Tony, we're happy for you with the new position down there in Kentucky, and we'll talk again.
Awesome, Seth. Thanks for your support. Ever since I arrived in New York, you've been A1, pure class, ladies and gentlemen. Seth is the best.
Appreciate it. Tony Calo from Turfway, Ellis Park, and you will see him plugged in at Churchill as well. As I say, Tony, we'll talk again. Thanks.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, we'll take a break, and as noted, we will. Actually, why don't we, because I did want to show, it may have some implications. So before we go to the break, maybe we'll show the Illinois Derby from last week, because we have about a minute here before we absolutely have to move on and get Anthony Stabile in. But I did want to show, because it was last Sunday, so we didn't see it on last week's show. But it was a field of 5 after the scratch of Ravenstown. I like Legree in here. Surprisingly, went off at 7-1. I thought the horse was a little bit live, but the betting public not so enamored. Betting public went with the Kenny McPeak horse, which I get, coming out of the Risen Star and the Louisiana Derby. Didn't really run in either of those, but again, that Risen Star has been very productive. So the betting public went with Real Men Violin at 8-5. But the winner winds up to be front end all the way around, number 2, Patriot Spirit. Patriot Spirit had come in off a third-place finish in the 6 furlong Hutchison down at Gulfstream at 6 furlongs. Prior to that had been in the Sam Davis at Tampa and was a disappointing, well-beaten 9th in there. But stepping out of the sprint, Hutchison, wire to wire for Patriot Spirit. And again, that was a win, and you're in for the Preakness as well. So we'll see. I didn't see any follow-up there as to the potential for that one to go to the whether they've committed. You would think if you get the win and you're in. I'm just looking here at the graphic I had up, and I moved on from it, but I think there was a number for Patriots. Right, there we go. I thought I saw, now I don't see it. So I'm not sure what the number was there for Patriot Strike. But again, it comes out of that with the eligibility to take a shot at the Preakness. So we shall see. It was a nice looking effort, but it was, again, a 5-horse field, took them all the way around. See how it works out. All right, we'll take a break when we come back. Opening day tomorrow at the Finger Lakes, and stepping into the booth, the Big A, Anthony Stabile. We'll catch up with him, maybe get some ideas for tomorrow as far as handicapping and more right after this. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
A recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if All you're getting now are points and gift cards. Join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, follow the thrill and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resorts Connected, where the good times flow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning, as promised before the break. Joined now by our friend Anthony Stabile, and I just had Tony Calo on the show, and we were talking. I had him on previously the last weekend at Turfway, and during the commercial break, he said, "Yeah, there's going to be some news coming out." And subsequently, the news came out that Tony making the move permanently to Kentucky. And so at that point, it was who's going to step into the booth at Finger Lakes, and sure enough, shortly thereafter, it was announced Anthony Stabile. Anthony, happy for you, and as I say, I just had Tony on the show. And he was happy for you as well, and wishing you a lot of good luck on tomorrow's opening day. So, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Literally passing the baton off, huh? We did it on Capital on Seth Merrow.
Yep.
I love it. Tony was instrumental in getting this done. Jason Beam actually, Tampa Bay, going to the track announcer, got the ball rolling. And he did it pretty quickly, Seth. When I was 8, 9, 10 years old, I knew I wanted to do this. My two best friends growing up with Joe Costa and Steve Davis. Joey wanted to be Don Mattingly. Steve wanted to be Jose Canseco. Joey's a wonderful stay-at-home son, and Steve is a pharmacist. Neither played any kind of Major League Baseball. I wanted to be Tom Durkin. And Johnny I and Dave Johnson. I'm not any of those guys yet, but here we are.
Yeah, and again, happy for you to get the gig. We have a little video that I put together yesterday. I pulled up some video from our visit out to Finger Lakes last October. We were there on a gorgeous fall day. It was like a summer day, and a really nice facility out there. I think we also have a shot of the booth that you'll be stationed in. So wish you and everybody out there a great opening day to the season. Todd Height as well. And we plan to be out there and visit. We'll come up and visit you in the booth when we get out there for one of our visits this year. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to opening day. And, just talk a little bit about your expectations. And Tony mentioned it when we had him out a little while ago. I was going to mention it as well. If somebody has headed out that direction today, you have a little meet and greet at a local bar today, right?
Eddie O'Brien's. I'll be getting at 5 o'clock. I'm on the Palisades right now, so I'll be up there in a little bit. And 5 to 7 over at Eddie O'Brien's, the Farmington location. Look at me knowing Eddie O'Brien. There's 3 locations. I've never seen the place. I've never been to Finger Lakes. I've never been remotely close to Finger Lakes. So it's all going to be a new experience for me. Not new. This is our 62nd year. Opening day tomorrow, 1:15. The first 2 weeks, we go Mondays and Tuesdays. The rest of the year is a 3-day week. All Monday through Wednesday, except 4th of July week, Independence Day. We race Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. 3 PPs on the website, FingerLakesGaming.com. And New York Derby, Monday, July 15th, should be a highlight. Whispers, if everything goes well, 3rd place finisher in the UAE Derby, I should say. And the 8 New York bred will be heading our way, hopefully. So, looking forward to 14 stakes in all. The field races, of course, for the state breds. The end of the summer, early fall, always races that have a lot of influence from downstate and the New York breds. We hang 200,000 up for each of those races. So, just looking forward to it. Looking forward to a new experience. Just looking forward to getting up there. Should be a great time. When I'm told there's a fantastic fan base. When my years at HRN taught me that when you go to some of these tracks that are off the beaten path, if you will, Penn National is the first one that comes to mind. We covered the Penn State, not the Penn Mile, for years over there, and I probably made 4 or 5 trips out. You drive right by Penn National if you didn't know it was there, right? It's right in the middle of the cornfield. But then there's 6,000 to 7,000 people there for the Penn Mile, and everybody's lining up to come over and say hello and at the food truck. So that small vibe, that small track vibe, smaller track vibe anyway, is something that I love, and I'm really looking forward to getting to that atmosphere.
Yeah, and I always tout our audience because, we're in the Albany, Saratoga area. A Monday or Tuesday, you want to head out to Finger Lakes. It's an easy drive. You hop on the thruway and you pop west. And once you get off the exit, it's really like 5 minutes away from the thruway exit. So it's a nice drive. And again, a nice little facility. It's a lot of fun. So certainly tell people to head out there. And again, opening day tomorrow. So I asked you to maybe come up with a couple ideas, and you said you had one in the first perhaps and one in the 7th. So let's take a look at it. The opener tomorrow is maiden specials going, as is the case with the early portion of the meet, 4.5 furlongs. And you said you liked the firster in here. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on the opener.
So the opener, I think, provides a great handicapping lesson, or at the very least, what I would hope to be a lesson, because I'm not used to, dealing with the layoffs. That a lot of these horses up there, they knock off for the winter. Come with this 4.5, 5-month layoff. All the races, I believe, the first 2 weeks of action are 4.5. I know all the races the next 2 days are 4.5. I'm pretty sure next week they're all 4. So, not so much prep races, but obviously just knocking the rust off a little bit and getting back on the track. I have a couple of theories I want to test. Now, Dave Matisse and I are going to be doing a pre-show every day. I think I have an idea for the title, but I'm going to buy Todd today when I see him at O'Brien's. Well, Dave and I will do a pre-show. I'll expound on this tomorrow afternoon, I should say. I think we're going to start like 12:15. I'll talk a little more about this. This is the first time I'm really saying it out loud. So, do you want the horses that have been in training all winter, coming from Penn National, obviously Aqueduct, anywhere else, the horses shipping up from Tampa, perhaps? Like a lot of trainers and horsemen and women make that Tampa, Finger Lakes circuit year-round journey. Half the month upstate, half the month down in Florida. Not a bad gig if you can get it. And have the horses for it. Do you want those horses that have still been in training? Or do you want the horses that are coming off the fresh horses? I'm going to find out how it works over the course of the next 2 weeks. But I'm going to lean towards horses with the recency. And in this case, I'm going to lean towards the first-time starter, because going 4.5, having instead the one horse from the rail draw, to me, I know it's tough when first is breaking from the inside, but I don't think it's any tougher than any other draw, to be honest with you. I think it's a little bit of a misnomer, and I think it was horses out of the gate. I'm not worried about the layoff horses. I'm not worried about the cheaper horses coming in front of town. I think I can get the job done with the
And a nice steady string of workouts, including some bullets down there at Tampa. I think that horse is very playable as well. And I'm with you. I like the horses that have some form, and you have some horses that have recent form here coming in from New York. I like venue moves, Naira to Finger Lakes to begin with, but you also have one coming up from Gulfstream. That opener is kind of an interesting way to kick off the season. And before we get to the 7th, I have to ask you, because again, that the first days of the meet will be these 4.5 furlong races. As an announcer, is that an obstacle? I mean, do you feel like, oh wow, I got to get through the field pretty quickly here? Or at 4.5, you probably have enough time to give them all one announce and then concentrate in the stretch. But what do you think of the 4.5 as an announcer?
It's going to be fun. Tony told me that turn comes up really quick. I was thinking back. I don't think I've called a race shorter than 5.5. So I mean, I'm coming from the harness game, the last year or so in the booth where they're going a mile and 51 and change, 54 and change, 2 minutes and change. So, yeah, it's going to be a little different. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I enjoyed my time at the harness tracks, but, I think at some point, you're either a Mets or a Yankee fan. I'm a thoroughbred guy. I love my harness people. They're some of the nicest people in the world, but I'm a thoroughbred guy. I'm looking forward to the challenge. One of the things I prided myself on when I first started calling races, the two guys that helped me the most in the booth were Frank Renati from Santa Anita, of course, now the racetrack announcer at Saratoga, who got me in the booth and got me my first chance, taught me the basics. Not that there's anything basic about calling races, but basically showed me the process is probably a better term. And then, of course, the legendary Conor Brielle, who taught me everything else about life. So I guess maybe it's not even a fair split between the two of them, but one of the things that I wanted to do was, and being the son of a trainer and all the time I've spent in the barn area and stuff, all the people that work so hard and get these horses to the races, they deserve to hear their horse's name at least once in a race. Yeah. And that has to happen in my race calls, and I've never missed one. So, and I won't. But yeah, getting through the 4.5, I can't imagine anybody. They're all going to get more than one. They'll all get one. But then you do it. You do the basics. You focus and celebrate the winners, right? You just focus on the icon, and of course, it's just giving the fans an accurate and entertaining description. Yeah, I think that's what you have to focus on after getting through them one time.
Yeah, from interviewing announcers over the years, it seems like everybody likes to get through the whole field at least once. And I think you get a shot at that at 4.5, and then top of the stretch, you kind of concentrate on the stretch run. 7th race tomorrow, state bred allowance runners. Again, it's going to be 4.5 furlongs. You have some in here with the recency coming up from the NYRA circuit, one coming in from Charlestown. But what did you see in the 7th race tomorrow?
Yeah, my Aqueduct bias is going to start showing. I'm sure it won't take long before the East Coast bias that I'm accused of having. And by the way, guilty as charged. Will turn into an Aqueduct bias. Gray Wing, the number 4 for Jeffrey Engelhardt and Andre Ward are going to team up here. He has yet to get to the winner's circle in 4 starts this year, but man, he's faced some tough hombres. Didn't have the best start last time. Getting out of the gate, the open allowance race, the new open allowance race here and down in New York. But two back, I mean, he ran into a field of 20 claimers that at one point in their career, a handful of horses were high-end allowance horses, borderline state horses. Yeah, I mean, I think, and again, with the recency, I think he just has an incredible edge over those horses. I also like the fact that Jeff's taking the blinkers off. More often than not, people associate putting blinkers on with trying to get more speed out of a horse. For some reason, they went fast in the last 2 races, and then you get off to a great start. But I think those blinkers kind of dulled his senses at the start of the race as well. And despite the fact that he ran 2 good figs and had 2 solid efforts, those blinkers come off. I think he's going to perform better without those blinkers. I think there may be a little bit of a hindrance, especially early on. Going 4.5, you want to be, you want to be in a piece of it early. So I would imagine Andre Ward is going to be aggressive with them, maybe not being on the lead, but hoping those blinkers coming off will wake them up a little bit.
Very good. So there are a couple ideas for the opening day card. And Anthony, before we let you go, I have to ask everybody the last couple of weeks who have been on the show, any Derby thoughts?
Here's my thought. I think I am as underwhelmed by the horses in the Kentucky Derby as I think I've ever been. With that said, more often than not, that makes it, right? If this is a Thursday afternoon and insert racetrack here, you say that about a race, and the next thing you say is, well, I'm underwhelmed with this one, but it's a great betting race. And for the first time in 25 years, I actually gave myself a little mental break when it came to the Triple Crown Trail. And I kind of, between the New York Post, NYRA, and my work at Vegas Insider all those years, and Mohegan Sun. I'll be in Mohegan Sun in Connecticut for my annual Derby party. But the point is, I'm underwhelmed by this group. I fear two big things would crush these horses. Sierra Leone has been very good, but that trip just doesn't work in the Derby. I might default to my favorite trainer of all time, William Ivan Mott, and Resilience, who has enough tactical speed to be in the thick of it and just behind that early speed of door knock and fierceness. I'll tell you, I'm going to give you a horse at 50-1 that I think is going to hit the board, maybe even finish 2-3, and that's Decidedly Man. Loved his maiden win. Made a decent bet on him his maiden win. I thought his Memorial was very good, and if I like Resilience at 12-1, I have to use him at 60-1. He was 3 lengths ahead of him last time. So Decidedly Man is my little wise guy, and Endlessly. I think Endlessly wants a mile and a quarter, probably more than most of these horses do. We'll see if he does.
You mentioned the Wood Memorial winner. He's my kind of. I think Fierceness might just be better than this group, but I'm going to play around a little bit with Resilience as well. Anthony, appreciate the time this morning, and get out there, have some fun tomorrow opening day. Well, have some fun tonight at the bar with the meet and greet to kick things off, but then have some fun tomorrow opening day. We'll be tuned in certainly, and we'll have you plugged in throughout the meet at some Sundays to take a look at some of the Monday action as well. But we appreciate the time this morning. Happy for you. Have a great time on opening day.
Thanks, Seth. Look forward to the visits this meet. I'm not going to have too much fun at the bar tonight, I promise.
Very good. Anthony Stabile, the announcer, kicking it off tomorrow, opening day at the Finger Lakes. Again, a little bit earlier, also want to thank Tony Calo for some of his thoughts on the upcoming week down at Churchill Downs. And I want to thank you all for tuning in as well. And speaking of Kentucky Derby, do want to remind you that the Kentucky Derby bankroll is the entries are open for the bankroll. Go to capitalotb.com, click on the promotions link, then look for the bankroll graphic, click on that, and the entry form is there. We'll be randomly selecting 50 people for the team, $2,500 bankroll to be played Kentucky Derby weekend. And hopefully that gets ballooned up nicely and everybody walks away with a nice chunk of change, courtesy of Capital OTB. So again, toss your name in the hat by filling out the entry form at capitalotb.com. And also a reminder coming up on Wednesday, it's the Kentucky Derby Seminar, the annual OTB Kentucky Derby Seminar, Wednesday at 7 p.m. You can check it out right here on the network or via the Capital OTB YouTube channel, other venues as well. That's coming up, Kentucky Derby Seminar, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for this edition, this Sunday morning edition of Racing Across America. Seth Merrow in the studio. Thanks for joining us, but we'll be back in about an hour and a half or so to kick things off for a Sunday afternoon OTB Live. Looking forward to it. Hopefully you are as well. I have a little Aqueduct in the sights, and I think I also had some Oaklawn, if I'm not mistaken, as my second track today. But we'll also have some Saratoga Harness in the mix and more coming up on this Sunday afternoon. So should be fun. Stay tuned. I don't think I have the results up. I was going to say, I felt like I was floundering a little bit yesterday at Oaklawn, but as the day ended, things heated up a little bit. At Aqueduct, I felt like I was going okay yesterday, so we'll try to pull Oaklawn up this afternoon and see if we can be a little more productive there on the OTB Live Sunday afternoon edition. But otherwise, we'll wrap it up for the Sunday morning. Again, thanks for tuning in. Always appreciate it. And an hour and a half or so, back at it. OTB Live for Sunday afternoon. See you then.
You're watching OTB TV, service of Capital Off Track.